morning, guys. I'm out today here in the woods and just wanted to enjoy the beautiful morning before some weather sets in. It's supposed to be pretty rainy and cool this weekend, but so blessed to have a lovely morning with a beautiful sunrise to enjoy. Today, I want to chat with you a little bit about my favorite knives in my collection, and I got some really cool mail. Stay tuned. So I was really thrilled the other day. I received a package in the mail from Kirk, north of 51. Take a look at what he sent me. So as you can see here, it is a beautiful Tinder pouch. Take a look at that. It is chock full of things I can use in the woods to start a fire, which is the gift that keeps on giving. It's beautifully made by, some leather here. It has a little deer antler button here, which is amazing. So that kind of goes up and down there to help tighten things up. Kirk also sent me a great card explaining everything that's in here. It turned out really, really well, Kirk. Thank you so much. Let's take a peek inside and see what we have. So as you can see here, we have some birch bark, all nicely rolled up there. We also have some sisal rope, which is great to catch an ember and get things going. There's some old man's beard. That's a lichen that hangs on trees. I actually have some just behind me, and I'll show you. Pine shavings, so that's super awesome. Those catch fire really well. And one thing Kirk also sent along was some fat wood from Shalissa Shell. So she's another YouTuber, and he's passed forward some of her fat wood, and that's the really resinous part of a conifer. This really lights up once you hit it with a spark. Some more fat wood here, and another little fire starting log. Also, there is a candle, which is good to kind of keep the flame for a while, and a Bic lighter. So that's you never go wrong with a good old Bic. But again, remember, when it's cold outside, you may not be able to use it, so it's good to use some other sources to start your fire. Here, it looks like a little tiny compressed towel, which is awesome. And a little flashlight. Woo. Great color on it too. Good to find, when you've dropped it somewhere. And this is really neat. This is a little bottle. And what we have here on the cap, I've already kind of peeked at it. Here in the cap of this little bottle is a mirror, so you can signal, which is great when you're lost in the woods. You can put some matches in there, or even a little bit of dried tinder, so it doesn't get wet when if you're out in the water or something, or it's raining. And here is awesome. This is a little fire steel, so when you put your knife against that, you'll get a spark. Thanks, Kirk, for this beautiful kit. I'm really looking forward to using it. I'm going to get started right now and make a fire, and we'll talk about my knife collection and have a cup of tea. If you haven't checked out Kirk North of 51's channel, I'll put a link down below. Thanks again, Kirk. Got some birch bark and some old man's beard here, and putting a little bit of the pine shavings. We get a good start here. I'm going to use some of the fat wood as well. I've not used that before. Alrighty, see what catches here. It's plenty, regardless of whatever gets going, it'll get going. Whoop, there we go. Nice. Love it. Right, she's going pretty good. So I'm just going to get my water ready here. Just going to stick this kind of close by. Doesn't tip over and put the fire out. Because that's never happened before, right, guys? All right. So we'll get that going, and let's take a look at those knives. So a little while back, I talked to you about the 13 facts about me, and I certainly love collecting knives. Today, I wanted to show you about 10 of my knives that I get the most use out of, and we'll take a peek at them. They're each sort of a little bit different. There's few in a similar class, but they're all my favorite knives. So we'll get started in the pocket knife category. Of course, there's always the corner store pocket knife, the little one that you would not be sad if you lost in the woods. So this one's just a little pocket knife I got at a corner store. Beautiful little knife, very small blade obviously, but it clips onto my pants. I can carry it with me anywhere, you know, multi-purpose for the little tasks in the woods and elsewhere. So I really like it. I'll give you a little close-up view there of the knife. You know, it's sturdy, didn't pay very much for it, but I'm not going to be very sad if it disappears. The next knife is something I do not ever want to lose. I had a little scare with it this past winter as I was on the snowmobile and I lost it. It's my Lungoil pocket knife, and it's from France. It's beautiful. I believe it's made of rosewood. It's got brass rivets and some gorgeous detailing there. All right, I'll give you a little close-up of it here. It's got beautiful detailing with the rosewood, I believe, and some little brass rivets. And look at the design there on the top. Just beautiful. Feels great in the hand, and you know, it's got a little bit of a rough edge there at the top. It is certainly a beautiful pocket knife, one they get really sad if you lose, but thankfully I found it again and getting great use out of it. It's a little kingfisher up there making a racket. Thought they'd be migrated by now, but I think they're still getting a little bit of fish here in the bay. Anyway, on to the next knife in the sort of the pocket knife category. It's a Gerber knife, and this one is beautiful. It's got a plastic handle, and as you can see, the difference between this knife and the others is it carries the surgical blades. So this is really nice. You can also probably get some saw blades for it as well. I really like the handle on this one. It's for a lot of you know, precision work, obviously, if you're in the bush or maybe you're a trapper and you're doing some skinning. You know, for some of the finer points, the surgical steel blade, you know, it helps when you need a really sharp blade. These switch out really easily, and it also comes with a few extras as well. So, I mean, I have this as a sort of an all-purpose for some of my, you know, finer detailed things, and I really like it. It's been sturdy. I've had it now a couple of years, and I've not been disappointed with it. Of course, you guys have seen me use the Opinel this spring and summer and fall. This is my mushroom foraging knife. And as you can see, it's got a very different blade on it. It does lock in place. And this part you use obviously to cut the mushroom from the stalk in the ground. This part is boar hair, I believe, and it's used to brush the caps of the mushrooms. And this here as well takes off some of the scales from some of the rough capped mushrooms. So a really great knife. It's really light. I forget the wood that it's made of. I don't know if it's basswood, but it is an extremely light wood at any rate in the handle, and it's made in France. Really high quality, and I've just had this little modification on here. I put a little bit of you know, this cordage on here so that I can kind of loop it around my belt, and if it drops out of my pocket, I'm not going to be sad. So this is the Opinel mushroom knife. It's actually called the number 8 in their catalog, so if you do a lot of mushroom foraging, this is nice to have. Moving on to some more all-purpose knives. Here is one of my favorites, actually. It's the Light My Fire knife by Mora, which is a Swedish company. And one really great thing about it, it's got a great solid case to it. I don't really like the clip for this belt. It certainly has fallen off on me a few times, so thinking of maybe making a few cases of my own. I have 2 of these knives. Cool thing in the handle, it has a fire steel. Now the fire steel is very small, very thin gauge, so you don't get a huge chunk of steel off of here, but it's great to have. And this is one of the ones I carry around with me, you know, all the time in the woods. It has a small blade there, but very sharp. I do have to keep it sharpened though, because I use it a lot. Rubber handle, obviously. And I don't know if it's full tang construction all the way through. It's probably not, but a nice stainless steel blade on there for sure. Just restoked the fire there. She's burning pretty well. My tea's boiling nicely. All right, some more knives to go here, and this one is probably the newest in my knife family. This is the buck knife. You can't go wrong with the buck knife. This is the buck Selkirk, and it comes with a really nice plastic case here, very solid. That's really nice, and you can kind of attach it to your belt or whatever you'd like. There's a few ways to modify it here with the little screws on the back. It also comes with a fire steel, much like the Mora knife. Again, really thin gauge, but really handy to have attached to this, this sheath here. One other thing is that the top part of the fire steel is actually a whistle. So Not really loud. I'm not going to blast it because someone might think I'm in trouble. But there's a whistle, the fire steel. So another great one to have with you in the woods. Now this one is a solid knife. I think far superior, obviously, to the Mora. Beautiful knife, really heavy, really weighty in your hands. It's got a drop point, really heavy grade steel here. Sharp out of the package, although I'd probably give it a little bit of a touch up there before heavy use. There's a little bit of an abrasive area here at the back of the knife, you know, for when you're doing working with your fire steel. This is not a wood handle, obviously. This is some kind of a synthetic, maybe plastic or something like that. I can't really tell. But it is full tang construction, as you can see, all the way through. It is solid. It's got some really nice sort of screws kind of through the handle here. You could probably even take this off and make your own, you know, handle for the knife if you wanted. The other great thing is that there's a really heavy metal area right here for when you're splitting wood and things like that. This is a great bush knife. I think you can also use it, you know, hunting and skinning and things like that. It is a great knife all around and a high performer. This one obviously is a little bit higher price point than the Mora knife, so you want to keep your eye on it. But I'm fairly confident carrying it because, as you know, you can stick it in this case and it is just locked on there. And the way it attaches to your belt is different than the Mora. It's not just a straight clip. It's actually, you know, screwed on here. So your belt, once it's on, it's not coming off unless your belt's coming off. So this one is a great all-purpose knife in the woods and highly recommended. Well, I guess that's it. That's all for my fire here. So I'm just going to grab some tea. Ooh. Perfect. Keep this warm down here. Let that fire burn out. Oh, that's good. It's a green tea, so I shouldn't have probably put the bag in there and let it boil. Green tea, usually you would make a little bit below boiling so it wouldn't get really bitter. But whatever, tea's tea, and it warms you up from the inside out. So the next knife I have is a fishing fillet knife. It's the Rapala JR Martini Finland. And this is a great knife as well. Oops, still got some fish scales on there. So obviously a different shape from all the other knives because it is a fish filleting knife. Very nice grip to it and a very light handle as well. Easy to transport. And this case is quite nice. It's sort of a softer leather, but it's very secure so that when you pop the knife in here, you can pop this on your belt. It's not going anywhere either, so it's in there well and you're not going to get injured. It's not going to slip out on you. It's in there nicely. So I carry this around with me. I have a couple of fish filleting knives, you know, ones with a regular plastic handle, but I think this one looks pretty cool, you know, with the wood handle. Looks kind of handmade, even though, you know, it's not. And it's, I don't know if it's actually made in Finland or not, but it is the Rapala brand. Now we're getting into one of the purchases I made in the spring. This knife is really unique. It's like nothing I've had before in my collection. It is handmade, and when I saw it on the table, I just couldn't take my eyes off of it. I really needed to have this knife in my collection. I was saying, oh, I'm not going to use this. Why would I get this? But when you have a knife addiction, you tend to want to get things you don't necessarily need, but are really nice to have anyway in your collection. So when I bought this knife, you could smell the varnish on it. You know, it had this lovely little leather case with it. And what it is, as you can see here, this is a beaver skinning knife. And certainly not something I'm going to be using, but I think it is really cool. A really cool knife. I really like the shape. And obviously a really small blade, a handmade wood handle. The blade goes about halfway up the knife. And yeah, it's really neat. Fits my hand perfectly. Something that's really unique and interesting, and something I've added to my collection just for the pure enjoyment of having a nice looking knife. The last couple of knives I'll share with you are ones that were either made by me or for me. And we've got a couple here. And this one, as you guys all recall, was the knife that I made out of a railroad spike. And this one is really cool. It's very sturdy. I haven't used a lot of it. It's more just cool to say that I made it. And basically, yeah, I had to oil it at the end so it didn't get all rusty because obviously this isn't stainless steel. but made it myself. It's got the nice twist in the handle, and I don't know, I like that little fun design that I put on it as well. So really solid. Right now, I mean, the blade's a little bit wavy. It's not perfect. It was one of my first attempts at making my own knife, so I can't complain. It turned out pretty cool. The last knife I'm going to feature today is one that was made for me last Christmas, and this is a homemade ulu. And so this is sort of a traditional knife in the north, and as you can see, it's got a little handle and has sort of like a little a curved slicing edge right here. So this is really cool. I think I may adjust the handle a little bit, maybe round off the edges a bit. But this is really awesome. This again was forged. I can't remember exactly the piece of steel it was made from, but it turned out really well. It's really functional. And hey, you can even use this stuff, you can even use the ulu to sort of chop things in the kitchen, to sort of skin things. It's a really interesting knife to have. And this one's really cool because it's homemade. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. I really enjoyed giving you a little presentation on my favorite knives in my collection. I hope you have a good week as always. Take care.